This week we have Alice Dade and Scott Yu, husband and wife, conductor and flautist.
Now, they talk about so many wonderful things, but the most important thing is, are you preparing for an audience of one? McCain.
And my name is Martin McCain.
And we are here helping you create your best musical life through transformational interviews,
performance content,
and educational tips. This week, Scott and Alice dropped so many different ideas and tips as educators and conductors, so enjoy. Hey everyone, today we have Alice Dade and Scott Yu.
Another awesome husband and wife duo. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Flutist at University of Missouri and violinist and conductor. I think this is the first time we've had this type of combination, so this is exciting to chat.
Welcome, y'all.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're your biggest fans. We've gotten a chance to play with Alice and Scott. We're meeting you for the first time, which is awesome as well. But we want to know a little bit more about each of you, and then we'll talk about you together too. So let's start with this. Alice, why don't you tell our audiences like what you do and where you are right now?
Okay, so I am in Columbia, Missouri. I teach at the University of Missouri. I've been there since 2011. And it comes with all the professorial activities, like I travel and play concerts when there's no pandemic. I write a lot of articles. I have a CD that was released in 2018. I do a lot of collaborations, recitals, master classes, so I wear a lot of hats. And the summers, usually those are the busiest times for performances.
Yes, which is how we know Alice from working with Prism together. Several summers. And then Scott, you have a much different life. Tell our audience about that.
I'm the chief conductor of the Mexico City Philharmonic, and I'm the music director of a festival in California called Festival Mosaic. And I conduct at another festival in Colorado in the summers. And I have a project with a production company in Texas. We are making a show called Now Hear This, which broadcasts on great performances.
And we got to hear it. We got to see you all last year.
It was like this time last year. I think September or something.
We were just like flipping and we're like, wait, this is Alice and Scott. It was pretty awesome, actually. Yeah. So we want to talk about that in itself. So
definitely
awesome. Thanks for those introductions.
So could you guys tell us also like individually, like how did you get into music? I mean, do you have like musical families or, I know that you had their band and orchestra classes, but like, how did music speak to you?
So I do not come from a musical family. I was looking for an interest and I was kind of following my older sister and not doing her interests as well as she was, like dance. I'm terrible at dance, cooking, science, etc. And my mom actually suggested that I play a musical instrument, and I just kind of took off. I didn't need to be told to practice, and I just really enjoyed it. And it really became a thing.
That is awesome. And where are you originally from, Alice? So what was your surrounding like as a child?
I'm nomadic. I'm an Air Force brat.
Okay.
So I was born in Texas and then in San Antonio. And then we moved to New Jersey, Germany, back in Texas and Del Rio. And then I kept traveling until now. This is the longest I've ever lived in one place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how does that work with study? Because a lot of times as musicians, some people will dedicate to like one or two teachers during their fundamental years, but it sounds like you probably had a lot of different influences in your early upbringing.
I think I did. But it was just luck. Or at least me, my parents were able to find a great flute teacher wherever we landed. So I owe a lot to them for that. And then I was in a great band program in Minnesota, And in Kentucky, there wasn't a music program where I'm from in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So that's why I went to boarding school when I was 15.
Oh, nice. That's right. You're an Interlochen kid. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yes, yes. We don't talk about that too.
What about you, Scott?
I grew up in Glastonbury, Connecticut, which is a suburb of Hartford. And I started on the Suzuki method in violin. And luckily, Boston was very close and New York was very close. I went to the Saturday programs when I was in late elementary school through middle school and high school. I went to the Saturday programs and got to hear all the best kids play cello, violin, piano, all of the instruments. So it was very lucky that I grew up in that part of the country, because those opportunities are harder, if you live in North Dakota or something like that. It's just
right.
it's tougher. So I'm lucky.
That is awesome. And then,
Wow.
so how did you take the path towards being a conductor?
When I always was interested in it. I liked seeing the scores of like violin concertos that I played even when I was 6, 7 years old. I wanted to know what everybody else had. And when I was in college, I was going to play a concert where Zuckerman was going to conduct, and it was a Bach concerto, and I was very excited because I really did and still do look up to Zuckerman so much. And he said, why don't you conduct yourself? And of course, I didn't really conduct. I was just, playing. But I remember it being a really amazing experience to evolve something other than just your violin, your fingers, to make sound. I crouched down at one point in the orchestra, suddenly got very soft, and it was things like that it was so amazing, especially as an 18-year-old.
Oh, wow. I
Wow.
bet that control over such a large ensemble has to be quite gratifying.
Yeah,
That I will not know as a pianist, but yes, I've heard from him anyway. Fantastic. So we always have to ask the nerdy question. You're a couple, so how did you meet one another? We love musical couples.
Okay. So when I was in grad school, Scott had an orchestra called Metamorphosen in New York, and they were set to play Brandenburg 4, which needs 2 flutes. So I was hired as one of the flutists, and actually I was a replacement for someone else who had gotten a job. So it was really, it worked out really well. And from that point on, Scott and I were good friends. And actually, I view Scott as kind of a mentor role in my musical life. And we kept in touch because I ended up moving to Sweden at one point for like 3 years, and Scott was conducting in Denmark, in Odense, quite a bit. So we were on Facebook at the same time, and we would just message each other. I would ask him how his dating life was, etc.
So forward.
How you doing? And then eventually we were both so Scott had a festival in Colombia, South America, called Festi Camera, and I was a faculty member there, an artist faculty member, and he asked me out. So that was about 9 years after we met, I guess, we started dating.
Wow.
Wow. And here you are now.
That's awesome. So usually when couples, like one person has one side of the story and another person has another side of the story, Scott, is that pretty familiar? You have another story?
No, that's very accurate. The part of the story she didn't mention was that when we decided that we didn't want to do long distance, it was 10 years to the day since I signed my lease in New York. So I lived in this one apartment from September 1st, 2002 until August 31st, 2012, literally exactly 10 years to the day.
Wow.
And on August 31st, 2012, I moved to Missouri to live with Alice. By that time, most of my friends had left New York.
Mm-hmm.
And, New York is the greatest place in the world unless you don't know anybody, and then it's kind of a weird place to be. So.
That's true.
We've been living in Colombia for the past 8 years, and it's been really nice. I really enjoyed it.
It's home now.
Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
home.
Nice. So nice.
I've always heard beautiful things about Colombia.
Yes, and post-COVID,
So you got to come and visit. It's nice.
Yeah.
we are ready. I think we were trying to, and then March happened.
It'll happen.
It will. So I want to talk about the show. Now
Yes.
Hear This. It's on PBS. Am I correct? And it's coming out in September?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Tell our audience about it and how it came about and what is the mission of the TV show.
Yes. So Now Hear This is in its second season. We were going to do 4 episodes for season 2, but because of COVID, we couldn't go to Europe to shoot the Beethoven episode. So it's just 3 episodes starting on September 18th, and then September 25th, and then October, I think, 2nd. So the first episode will be about Haydn and the birth of the string quartet. The second episode will be about Schubert, and the way we shot it was all of the performers in the episode were Schubert's age or younger. So there's nobody in the episode that's above 31 years old. And actually, I don't perform in that episode because I'm not, I'm much older than 31. So it was deliberate that it was just kids. But it's fun.
I love that.
And then the Mozart episode is about there is a Canadian pianist named Stuart Goodyear.
Yeah, we love him. Yeah.
He's, to my knowledge, he's one of the only pianists right now who improvises his own cadenzas. So the premise of the episode is that Stuart is going to become Mozart. He has to obviously perform a piano concerto, but he also has to improvise the cadenzas, and then I teach him how to conduct the orchestra. And that process to learn how to conduct and learn how to improvise within, the PBS hour is that's the episode, and it's very nice. And then in the spring, we'll have shot the Beethoven episode, and they'll rerun all 7 episodes, and then end with the Beethoven episode.
Oh,
this is
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. We really enjoyed last season. I think we were tagging Alice on Instagram. I'm like, this is so awesome.
Right.
Can you tell us how did this all come about? This whole project.
At my festival in California, where Alice and I kind of re-met there, I guess, in 2008, we have a series of events that are kind of concerts, but they're called Notable Encounters, and it's kind of a museum docent's view of a piece of classical music. We just did one on Dvorak's bass quintet. It could be about piano sonata or a symphony or really anything. Anyway, we took that on the road, and we went to Texas, and we did a notable encounter on the 3 Brahms trios. And I made the argument that the 3 Brahms trios were a good metaphor for the composer's life. And you could sort of see his development and his maturity through these 3 pieces. And one of the people in the audience happened to be a producer for PBS. And and it was strange, actually, because at that event where I was explaining how the music worked, I think there were only 7 people in the audience, and it felt very uncomfortable because you kind of need a crowd to feed off of to make these things go. But one of the 7 people happened to be this man, Harry Lynch, who's he's now the director and producer of the show. And so he said, "Hey, you want to make a TV show together?" And I thought about 2 months earlier, somebody had asked me the same exact thing. And I thought, I got very excited about it. So then 2 months later, Harry came up to me and said, "You want to make a TV show?" And I said, yeah, right. Because the first one didn't pan out. And then he called back like 5 days later, and he said, this is how we're going to do it. And and then, one thing led to another, and great performances picked it up. So it's very nice. We're very grateful to great performances in PBS.
I love
Absolutely.
that. And we have a lot of young up and coming musicians as listeners to our show. And I think what you just said, there's only 7 people in the audience. And sometimes we blow that kind of stuff off. We think, oh, this is not a great show because there's not that many people. And something my teachers were always like, it doesn't matter if there's one person there, you need to give it your best all the time. And I think that's a perfect example because you would never think you'd end up on PBS with just 7 people in the audience. So, wow, thanks for that
It
story.
was total luck. And I would, Artina, I would also add that to your younger listeners, not only should you try your best, but even if you know that there's going to be 5 people at the audience, or even 2, even if you know for sure there are only going to be 3 people in the audience, you still have to try your best because you never know who one of those 3 people are.
Exactly.
I mean, you never know.
This is true. You never know. That is, yes,
No.
that is such
Yeah.
good advice.
No.
So, like, what types of things do you guys do as a couple as far as collaborating with each other?
Well, Alice and I play quite a bit of chamber music together. Next summer, we're playing at, I guess, 4 festivals together. One in
that's
Colorado, my festival in California. I think we're going to go to the Cape and Islands Festival, and then there's a small festival in upstate New York that we're going to play at as well. So we do a lot of that, which is really nice. Alice, in January, or no, maybe it was February, she performed the Nielsen Flute Concerto, and I was conducting.
Ooh.
That's really fun.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Next year, she's going to play the
I know.
Catholic. Sorry?
Oh, no.
So bass trombone players love the Nielsen flute concerto.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
Sure, it's
excerpt for you
great.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good piece.
Yeah.
We next year we're going to play the Cacciatorian Violin Concerto, where Alice will be playing the solo part on the flute. So there's lots of stuff like that we do.
He was on my CD.
I was playing in the quartet in the accompaniment, which was really really fun.
Yeah. Any excuse we get to see each other and collaborate, it's fun, you know. But there aren't many violin flute duos that we've found we really really like. So we just kind of, it's usually orchestral or concerto or chamber music.
There's a composer that is a mutual friend of ours that named Michael Fine, and he wrote a flute quintet, so flute, violin, viola, 2 violins, viola, and cello. And we recently recorded that, and that was fun. It was very difficult, hard piece.
Really tough, but great music.
But really nice,
Yeah.
really good piece. So, and when Alice is here in Missouri and I'm home, then I try to help out a little bit. And when we're off and maybe we're doing a shoot or something, or we're in California, oftentimes Alice will really help me out. So we try to be each other's help.
Like producers.
You co-produce.
Scott has gone to a flute convention before, and he's helped me out with like whatever, carrying equipment, or it's really nice. We just kind of, we're there for each other.
That is
Absolutely.
awesome. We
Team.
understand. Yes. So, you mentioned like when you're there, when you're at home in California or in Missouri, but hey, with COVID, it seems like you guys have been able to spend a lot more time together. How has this time been? Unusual, or things that you've enjoyed while we've kind of been really not doing as many concerts? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've had 2 concerts since February.
Yeah.
They were for no audience,
Mm-hmm.
both in Colorado, pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
We had to all sit 8 feet apart, I think, wearing masks. She had to be behind a plexiglass screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's odd. It's
Yeah.
really, really strange. Everything for me has been canceled through until January.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. I think that maybe Scott is going to be doing some shooting for the show in this fall.
Mhm.
And but in terms of enjoying time together, we've just taken advantage of it. We take a lot of drives.
Mhm.
We say we take drives to nowhere. We've just gotten to know the the area around Columbia, and there's actually really beautiful places. We're into photography, so we're taking advantage of that. And there's also some filming little projects that we've needed to do for Scott's Festival, so I've become a camera woman.
Alice!
Pick up another skill.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And but we have 3 cats who are like our family, so I'm cooking a lot. And actually, Scott and I both do modeling. So Scott is doing model cars, and I'm making a little model kitchen.
Oh, I need pictures of this.
Yeah.
I have to see.
Awesome.
It's a really cool thing. I mean, these little tea kettles and sinks, they look real. It's amazing how they make these things. It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
You've used a really good analogy about how taking time to construct models and having the patience to put the pieces together and paint and whatever you need to do in the process is a lot like practicing.
Like practicing well.
Like practicing well.
Yeah.
I love that analogy, and that whenever I feel impatient when I'm making these models, it reminds me of this is the same as like skipping ahead on the metronome in my practice room.
Yep.
I understand
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
We need every clip.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's what this is. This is an amazing interview. That's why we're getting interrupted all the time.
So, like, a big chunk of our audience is up and coming budding musicians. What advice could you give, like, the next generation musicians who want to be like the next conductor, next flute soloist?
I would say that when people do a performance or an audition and they say, wow, that went really badly, or that went really well, I think that oftentimes that assessment is an illusion. And really what happens in the performance is simply an average of what happened in the practice room. So if you want to play well, if you want to be successful, the key thing is to just do high quality practicing. If you want to be a conductor, high quality studying. If you want to be a pianist, very slow, high quality practicing, like we've all experienced. Because I think people often feel like maybe they'll get lucky, but it doesn't usually happen. If you've practiced really well, then usually it's going to be good. And if you haven't practiced well, or especially if you've practiced too fast, then usually it doesn't go so well. So I would say that for me is I once heard Itzhak Perlman say something like fast is slow.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
slow is fast. So if you practice slow, that's the quick way to get better.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely right. And so many students.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I think that if I were to go back in time and give myself suggestions or just a little piece of advice, I would say it's a matter of not missing the forest for the trees. So making sure that you keep perspective of how things are going. I tend to be really hard on myself, and I have to remember to just step back, look at what the tasks at hand, what I need to get done. And it's just a day. Just try and put in your practice time. It may not be the best day. That's okay. Just keep going. And if you really can't practice and be productive, can you listen to a recording? Can you do some score study? Just making the most out of every day. And what you do every day is more important than what you do sometimes. So really get into the habit of it just being a ritual. That's what you do every day, like brushing your teeth.
Right, a ritual.
Yeah, that's really profound. I like that, because a lot of people just give up so quickly. They're frustrated. Oh, this is not working today, and not even want to be productive. Oh, I can still score study, and just no focus. So that's great information.
Oh, you guys are so smart. That's why we like talking to you.
Are you guys? Are a lot of the the audience, your audience here for this interview, are a lot of them like kids in Memphis, or is it just kids everywhere? Like, how does it work?
Well, I think actually a lot of our audience is like 25 to 34.
Yeah.
So it's like budding professionals.
Yeah.
We can get a little bit of the college kids, so to speak. But I think because we're professors, like, it's like listening to your mom. They don't want to listen. So we really get a lot of 25 to 34-year-olds. So actually, if you want to speak to that
That's the most important age.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
what would you say to that demographic specifically? Because we have a huge audience there.
I would say that I think that especially this generation that's 25, 30, people who are just getting out of school, don't you feel like a lot of them in that generation, I guess Generation Z, millennials, they worry a lot.
Oh yeah.
I think that worrying is really, worrying about somebody's health, of course, that's understandable, and that's necessary, and that's what I call, that's good worrying. But when you're worrying about your career, I feel like that's a form of laziness. That people worry because it gives them the illusion that they're doing something about their career because they're worrying about it, but actually worrying doesn't really accomplish anything.
Right.
It's also a lousy feeling to worry. And the best thing is, if you're worrying, just practice. Practicing when you're not worrying.
That's true.
Yep.
It's really useless. My violin teacher, Paul Cantor, who I really, I kind of idolize him. He told me, don't be jealous of other people because that's a useless emotion, which I agree. But I think a more useless and much more common emotion is to worry. And if you're worrying about the world or about COVID, I understand that. But if you're worrying about, am I going to get this job, or am I going to get into that grad school? Well, no, don't think that way. You got to just work, because all you can do is work. And I feel like the classical music world is so large that there's a place for everybody who's done the work. I mean, if you just want to sit on your couch, then there might not be room. But if you're working hard at it, and maybe working hard is not just spending time practicing trombone. Maybe it's, doing something like what you guys are doing, creating content and getting to know different people and exploring ideas. Maybe it's writing a book. Maybe it's, exercising. I don't know, but being active rather than sit and worry. I think sitting and worrying is just such a waste of time.
Yep.
Oh.
And I've done so much of it in my life that I feel like I'm an expert at that.
Right.
It does not help. You think it does. You think that, well, this is undoubtedly this is going to help me, but it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. It just wastes your time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And your health, really, because
And your health.
I've been like that too, and
Yeah,
it doesn't
we
help
all
your
do
health
that.
either.
Exactly.
So, man, thanks for saying that, Scott.
Yeah.
How about you, Alice?
Well, about I just wanted to mention something. Scott used the word jealousy, and one way of looking at jealousy that might be more beneficial to what you're trying to do, what we're all trying to do, instead of that's probably the worst feeling in the world, right? Instead, look at it as a sort of a signal of there's something there that you would like to pursue that you're not pursuing right now.
Yeah.
So, if, I'm kind of jealous that they, got an orchestral job. Oh, maybe I should pursue getting an orchestral job. So that it's not about the other person anymore and what you don't have. It's more like, oh, okay, that's a signal. I've got to keep working in that direction. So it actually helps your path and your goals be more clear.
I love
Because
that.
I don't want to feel that way ever. So that way you're being more proactive and thinking about everything you want to do. Because if you just have a general goal of getting better, that's great. But the more specific you can be, the better it is.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
having
I
goals.
found that most people that, we perceive that are jealous or, thinking about what others are doing or trying to tear them down, they're not doing enough for themselves, because the people
Right.
who are up there have no time to think about those things
Exactly.
or those people. So if you find yourself there, you have to really think, probably those people, you probably might not even know who you are. And here you are, like wasting all that energy
Yep.
on them. So
Absolutely.
thank you guys so much for that.
Oh, that was fantastic.
So this has been great. I'm so glad we got to talk to you all.
Oh no.
If our listeners want to find you or reach out to you, how can they do that?
Well, let's see.
We both have websites, and there's contact information on the websites.
Yeah. What is your website?
Tell them.
Your
Tell them.
websites, your social media handles.
So mine is scott-u.com, and yours is?
Mine is www.alicekdade.com. I'm on Instagram, just at Alice Dade, very creative, and I have a Facebook fan page as well. Alice Dade.
I love watching Alice's practice
Practice
videos.
ones. Yeah, they're always entertaining.
you
Fun.
inspire me. I'm like, I need to post some practice videos or something.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. This has been awesome.
Yes, thank you guys so much for meeting with us and chatting.
Yeah.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Artina.
It's great
Thanks,
to
Mark.
see you guys.
Yeah,
too.
likewise. So bye, everyone. Thanks for
everyone.
listening.
Bye.
I really love that, what Scott was saying about being prepared for small audience and audience of one and where that can take you in your career.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would have never thought about
Oh
that.
my goodness. PBS, go watch the show.
Absolutely. If you like what you see, make sure you're sharing with a friend.
And you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that little bell so you can get notifications on new videos.
Also, check us out on our other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @McCain Duo, and also McCainDuo.com.
See you guys next time.